All righty. Hi, everybody. As you're coming in, we're just going to take a few minutes just because we recognize we have quite a few of you registered. So just kind of give us a second while everyone comes in, and then we'll start shortly. All right, for those of you that are just coming in right now, I just mentioned this previously, but we're going to start in about a minute or so as we wait for a few more of you, so just hang tight. Alrighty, so we might as well get started because I'm just sitting here in my house just staring at my screen. So we're really excited to be here with you today. We have really special people on this panel and we're really going to be here to talk to you guys. So this is all about you and your questions that you have. So before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. First and foremost, my name is Rose Littlefair Howard. I'm an admission counselor here in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. I've been at Marquette now for just under 4 years, graduated in 2016 and then decided never to leave. I'm originally from Southern California, and while it's a lot warmer there than it is here right now, I really, really love Milwaukee and Marquette. And so that's why I'm always really excited to do these things. But I will not be talking that much today, and that's the way it should be because we have really awesome current students on this panel, as well as one of my colleagues, Cecilia. So Cecilia, do you just want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. My name is Cecilia Heffernan. I'm another admission counselor in our Office of Undergraduate Admission. Unlike Rose, I'm from the opposite coast. I'm from the East Coast. I grew up about an hour north of New York City. I also attended Marquette and graduated in 2018 with a degree in writing intensive English from our College of Arts and Sciences. And I also minored within our College of Communication in a corporate communication minor. Just like Rose, the Midwest grabbed me, and I don't plan to move anytime soon, but it's been so awesome to call Milwaukee my home for the past couple of years now. And we're really excited to share just how special Marquette is as well as Milwaukee. Beyond that, I also do recruit in the tri-state area of Connecticut, Northern New Jersey, as well as New York City. So if you're from that territory, hello, I'm your admission counselor. But for everyone else, we're so excited you're here joining us today.
Wonderful. Thanks, Cecilia. So for those of you, hopefully you can all see my screen. We'll have our student panelists introduce themselves in just a few minutes, but I want to go over a few things. So first and foremost, I've said this to a lot of people, but I really do sincerely mean this in that I definitely know this is not how you expected your senior year to end. And so for those of you who have visited campus, wonderful. For those of you who haven't visited campus, you'll see a photo of how our campus fits into the city of Milwaukee. Our campus is about 90 acres situated right in the heart of downtown Milwaukee. So we're a very urban campus, but at the same time, you still get that really great college campus feel. I personally know while working on campus, but when I was a student, I love that I had the ability to go venture off into the city, but then come back to campus when I wanted to. So I always had the city there for me if I ever needed to get away or to study or to simply just eat some fried cheese curds, but know that campus is very much its own, again, but just in the middle of the city. And then of course that is Lake Michigan. So for all my people from the coasts, I also thought that was the Atlantic Ocean and my mother thought she had failed me. That is Lake Michigan. It does serve as a center of recreation for our students. So for those of you from Chicago, that's the same lake. And there's a beach and everything. It's pretty grand, about a mile and a half from campus, about a 15-20 minute run if you're running as slow as I am, about a 7-minute run if you are at all athletic. Okay. Wonderful. So, and then here's how Marquette's campus fits into the downtown. Everything right here is highlighted is Marquette. Disregard McCormick Hall. That is that circular cylinder building you'll see right there. It is no longer on our campus, but we have since built a brand new residence hall, the Commons, which you will find as an option on your student housing form. And we'll talk about that student housing form in just a bit and how you go about preferencing some of those options. All right, so next steps. So I know that as you guys are looking at colleges, you might find that it can be pretty confusing figuring out which portal to access what and where. So we have two really important ones, and those are going to be your student status page as well as our checkmark account. Your student status page is where you can find any sort of admission update. So that's where you'll find a copy of your acceptance letter if you've been admitted to Marquette, as well as scholarship information. You'll be able to find out who your admission counselor is there, as well as just some other things. But this is where you'll submit your deposit to Marquette. So if you have decided to come to Marquette, you'll submit your deposit in your student status page, and you'll also sign up for Spark in your student status page. So Spark is a pre-registration, I guess this summer it is virtual. It's called Spark at Home. Essentially, you'll have access to our advisors. You'll be able to figure out which classes to take and which ones to sign up for. And so all that will be taken care of Spark. And if you've already signed up for Spark, you've already received communications about what Spark at Home will look like. But if you haven't signed up for Spark, you will of course receive plenty of communications going over what that's going to look like for you this summer. And then in checkmark, this is usually the more important one for everybody, at least it seems. They're very excited about housing preferences, maybe not so much about medical forms. So medical forms are simply just from your doctor stating you've had all the required vaccinations needed to attend Marquette. You'll be able to upload these vaccinations into the checkmark account, and you'll be good to go. We just ask that you do this before you move into campus. And then housing preferences. So for those of you that aren't familiar, you do list your top 4 choices here at Marquette. Our Office of Residence Life does their best to give you one of those choices. However, you may not get one of those choices. It is a randomized process. So like I mentioned before, you have the Commons, which is one of our freshman and sophomore residence halls. You have Cobean, our all-female freshman residence hall. You have Abbotsford, a co-ed residence hall. Then you have a variety of others that you can find on our website. If you go into our website, you'll be able to see some virtual tours of those residence halls, as well as some YouTube videos showing students inside the residence halls. And then adding on to that, we have Instagram too, which I feel kind of silly saying, but Instagram is actually really great because all of the residence halls on our campus will profile how the rooms look, how they can be set up, and you can get pretty creative with it. So those are just going to be a few of our things to look forward to if you're deciding to deposit at Marquette. The next thing I want to go over really quickly is, of course, we're acknowledging what's happening in the world, and we're quickly acclimating to all the changes that are being made. So for any of you that might be feeling like, oh, I just don't know if I can make my decision by that May 1st deadline, please know on our website we have a form where you can request an extension deadline. So our current deadline is May 1st, but you can request until June. So know that that is on there. As long as it's a valid reason, which all of them have been so far, our office will grant you an extension. The next piece is, again, for those of you who haven't visited, we do have an entire virtual website, which is so incredible. I definitely know that a virtual visit cannot replace a real one, but this has videos from professors and students like the ones here today, as well as a full on-campus virtual visit. So you can log on and you can look at campus from a bird's eye view and then zone in on the different buildings and what they hold inside them. The next piece, financial aid and scholarship will also be available in your checkmark. You're, of course, always welcome to give us a call if you have any questions. Otherwise, our Office of Financial Aid is open every day, or I'm sorry, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. They can answer some of those questions as well. And then last but not least, I just want to go over graduation requirements. This is pretty simple, but we know that things are changing, especially as your high schools acclimate to online learning. Just be sure that you're still satisfying your high school's graduation requirements. We're pretty flexible, but we just want to ensure that you're completing everything that is required of you by your high school and by the curriculum set by the school district. So let us know if you have any questions about that. You can, of course, give us a call during the week and we can chat, walk you through some things that you might have questions about. But other than that, it is now onto the fun part. So I'm going to have each of our students introduce themselves. They're all pretty darn incredible. But first, I'm going to have one of our 2 graduating seniors start us off. So Michaela, do you want to start us off? And then we'll go James, and then Siobhan, and then Francisco.
Okay, hi guys. My name is Michaela. Like Rose said, I'm a senior, second semester senior, so I'll be done in about 3 weeks. I am currently in Woodstock, Illinois. So I live about like 15, 20 minutes from the border of Wisconsin. It takes me like an hour 20 to get to Milwaukee. And I'm a nursing major. So just a few things I do on campus. We have a cute little nursing club. Sounds super dorky, I know, but it's super fun. I'm on the board for that. So in terms of things, we just do panels, internship, externship opportunities, fun stuff like that. As a Jesuit school, we have tons and tons of service clubs. So I'm involved in 2 of those. Mardi Gras, which is kind of where you travel around in the States. And then Midnight Run is where you stay in Milwaukee and do things like that. And then a few other things. I did a club sport for 3.5 years. So for all you people that are in kind of intense majors, just know sports, all that fun stuff is definitely possible as well.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Yeah, you just unmute yourself. Hey, James, you might want to unmute yourself.
Oh my gosh, sorry. I thought that I was unmuted there.
That's okay. That's totally okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm James. Like Rose said, I'm a graduating senior from Waterloo, Iowa. I studied biomedical sciences and supply chain management here. And a couple of the things I've been involved in are Students for Environmentally Active Campus, Mardi Gras, similar to Michaela. It's an organization that does relationship building and natural disaster relief. And then my friend and I were able to co-found a business brigade where we went to Panama to do business consulting this past year. I've also done some medical work with that organization. And then the running club is another thing that I've been a part of. So lots of different things that you can try out while you're at Marquette.
Perfect. Thanks. All right, Siobhan.
Okay, hey guys, my name's Siobhan. I'm currently in my hometown of Dayton, Ohio, which is like 6-7 hours from Milwaukee. I'm a sophomore studying exercise physiology in the Doctorate of Physical Therapy program at Marquette. I'm involved in a couple of different things on campus. I'm in a social sorority. I am involved in Mardi Gras as well. It's really popular on campus. I am in a club called the Adaptive Abilities Club, which is really cool and really popular for people in like exercise-based majors, just sort of different like cool sports, I guess, that you could do with persons that are affected with disabilities. So I signed up for the skiing one. We would go out on Thursdays and help people with various abilities ski, which was really cool. And then lastly, as a group, we had a little intramural soccer team as tour guides, which was really fun. Intramural sports are very, very fun. So.
Lovely. All right. Last but not least, Francisco.
Guys, my name's Francisco. I'm currently a junior here at Marquette. I'm studying mechanical engineering with a minor in business administration. And currently I'm at my apartment on campus because I'm from Milwaukee, but I just decided to stay in my apartment to concentrate a little bit more. Some things I'm involved with here on campus, I'm part of a fraternity. I'm also part of Mardi Gras, so that's 4 for 4 right there. I'm part of the club soccer team here, and I am also part of the Dreamers Gala planning committee on campus.
All right, lovely. All right, thank you all. So I want to remind everybody who maybe joined us a little bit later, we do have a Q&A box. Please feel free to use this to ask any questions because this is what I will use to make sure that we can get all of those questions answered. I see we already have one. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time to, oh, great, some more people, awesome. So, but I do want to start off with the first question, and I think this is a really important one, but obviously recognize everybody chooses a college because they feel like it is that right fit for them. And we want you all to find that right fit. So that's essentially why we're doing these, is because we want to hopefully give you insight into what the Marquette community is like once you're here on campus. So my hope is that all of you guys can share why did you choose Marquette? What about Marquette was like, oh my gosh, I have to spend 4 or in Siobhan's case, 6 years here. So Michaela, can you, since again, I know the 2 seniors, you're making me really sad thinking about you guys graduating, but if you can remember all the way back to whenever the year was that you were looking at school, can you tell us why you chose Marquette?
Yeah, so I think the official time that I decided Marquette was a school for me was probably 4 years ago in like February, March time. So I toured Marquette twice. The second time, like many people do, is like the decision-making time for me. So I remember it was me and my mom touring campus, and for all of those all of you that have toured campus, main spot that we hit is the Joan of Arc Chapel. We go in there, super cute spot on campus. It's like the main component of our Jesuit identity. Growing up, I've grown up Catholic, still am Catholic. So for my family, that was kind of important and very attractive to us. So I remember we're walking in, you see everything in there, super cute on the inside, like quaint, cute. And we're walking out. Next stop is the nursing building. So, you know, we're on our way over there. And I'm like, where is my mother? Like, I cannot do this alone. At the time, I was super awkward. So I look behind me and she's standing in front of the chapel. I was like, okay, woman, like, come on, let's go. So she lifts her head up and she's in tears. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we are halfway through this. Like, I can't handle this. So I'm like, Mom, like, what are you doing? Get going. And she's like, I don't know, Mac. That's my nickname. She's like, I don't know, Mac. I have a weird feeling that you're supposed to be here. Okay, as a student that is deciding colleges, yes, that is very cute. But as a student deciding colleges, how could you not go to the school that your mother has a feeling that you're supposed to go to? So I'm like, okay, pressure. Going to the simulation lab, phenomenal. Best one I've seen. In that moment, I was like, how could you not be an excellent nurse after this? So we're on our way, going to the AMU, which is like what I call the fun spot on campus, dining hall, spirit shop, coffee shop, stuff like that. And we're on our way there. And before you cross the street, there's like the main part of campus, Wisconsin Avenue, that you kind of cross over. And I remember walking to that main spot of campus, and I had that exact moment my mom had. I just stopped. It was like paralyzing. I just stopped, and I was like, this is it for me. So for some of you, it might be mushy and cheesy, but it was maybe like God speaking to me, or that comfort, like feeling in my heart that I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. But it was that moment. I will never forget 4 years ago that I was like, this is the school for me. So obviously stayed, never tracked off of that decision, not once. I'll be graduating, like I said, in a few weeks. So best decision I've made.
Oh, I really need to like control my emotions because every time we have one of these panels, I start to cry afterwards. So this is really great. Thank you, Michaela. Very appreciative of you sharing. James, how about you? I'll let you go next.
Yeah, so I don't have quite as vivid of a moment as Michaela, as in terms of a memory of it. But I did about 3 tours of Marquette, and I'm very much a person that likes to consider all my options, right? So I was looking at big schools, I was looking at small schools, I was looking at middle-sized schools. And so from my first tour, I could just tell Marquette had this very natural feel to it, just with the size alone. And 2 things became really apparent to me throughout my tours, and I did 3 of them, right? So one was the community. The sense of community here is incredible. Everybody knows everybody. You walk around campus. My tour guides knew tons of people. As I've been a tour guide, I've been able to see tons of my friends walking around on tours. And another thing too was just how many passions you can explore while you're at Marquette. I am someone that's interested in a lot of different things. And throughout my 4 years here, I've been able to try out all of them. So I was in Greek life in my underclassmen years, and then I decided that I became more passionate about service. So I started exploring that more in my upperclassmen years. So I think that and the leadership opportunities too, there's so many different clubs that you yourself could start or that you can join. I mean, the opportunities are endless, so.
Thanks, James. Let's see. Okay, I want to turn to Cecilia. Cecilia is an alum. Cecilia, why did you choose Marquette?
I chose Marquette because a big part of my high school experience was serving communities around me, as well as across the country. So I was really looking for a college that had those service opportunities that I could get involved with. But when I was visiting Marquette, though that service was ingrained not only in the organizations like so many of our panelists had mentioned they're part of, but also throughout academics. There is a tagline we have at Marquette called "Be the Difference," and I really saw myself being the difference at Marquette. And throughout my college search, Marquette really stood out to me as the difference. Before I even stepped foot on campus, like you all might be sitting in your chairs right now, not having been able to visit campus, I still felt connected to the community because the way students and faculty and staff made me feel. I think that was a really important piece and component of my choice to attend Marquette because I was making that big leap. I was going a little bit further away than a lot of my other classmates in high school. So it was really important for me to feel comfortable in that space on campus. And the moment I stepped foot, I was like, this is the place for me. Similar to Michaela, I really felt it was my home away from home.
Thanks, Cecilia. Okay, I gotta get it together. Okay, Francisco, do you want to tell us why you chose Marquette?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I'm from Milwaukee, so I wasn't very, like my original plan was to get as far away from here as possible. Obviously, it didn't turn out that way because I'm still here, like 15 minutes away from my house. But when I was a senior in high school, I was looking at various options around the country, and it came down to schools that I really thought were a right fit for me. It came down between Marquette and St. Louis University. And so I had a high school teacher that helped me out through my whole college process. And when she heard what I narrowed my options down to, she pulled me aside after class one day and she looked me right in the eyes and she said, "I will kill you if you don't go to Marquette." And as I was looking at my options, I really appreciated when I visited Marquette. I actually got to talk to a couple engineering professors, and they really like laid out the options of what the engineering school would be here at Marquette. And if you have visited campus and seen engineering hall, that's like a playground. That's heaven for us engineers, just with all the machines we have, all the labs that we're able to go into. And that really like put a light on it and made me realize that this was the place for me. That this was the place that I was gonna grow as a professional and as an individual. And I've definitely done that in the past 3.5 years. So that's been great. And my parents were very surprised when I ended up at Marquette. They thought I was gone. So yeah, that's how I chose Marquette.
Well, we're really glad you did because we like seeing your shining face in our office every day. Okay, and last but not least, Siobhan, do you just want to tell us a little bit about why you chose Marquette?
For sure. Okay, so I was very indecisive. I don't know if I'm sure somebody out there can relate. I am the youngest of three, like I said, from Dayton, but my parents are from a suburb outside of Chicago, so I'm just kind of a Midwest all over the place kind of kid, if that makes sense. So actually my mom is an alum of Marquette, and then my brother decided also to go to Marquette. And for those two reasons, I was like, I'm not going to Marquette. Like, I'm doing my own thing. I'm going to be my own person. It's got to be my school. Like Francisco, I was also interested in St. Louis. My sister was going to be a senior there when I would have been a freshman. So again, it's gone. Bye. And then also University of Dayton is like 10 minutes from my house. Great school. I told my dad I didn't want to tour it because I thought that I would really like it, and I did on my tour, which was, great. But I wanted to get a little bit farther from home. So again, no, I had this big plan to be all on my own, which is very lonely. So I'm really glad that I ended up where I am because it's really not hard to not be lonely at Marquette. But anyway, all this to say, I got down to about now, 2 years ago. Or like maybe, I got my 1 year ago that I visited Marquette yesterday, I think, actually. And I hadn't visited Marquette. I visited SLU a couple times, Dayton, all these other places. And a couple other things kind of fell through with other schools that I was kind of more just in the front of my search at the beginning. And my dad, because I have a theory that dads always know, my dad was like, let's go visit Marquette. And I was like, okay, yeah, I haven't been there a million times. Sure, whatever, let's go. But I'd never been there for myself. I'd always been there to pack up my brother or to move in my brother or to relive some crazy day my mom had or see a basketball game. But I'd never been there for me. It's like Siobhan's school. So I went, I had this great tour guide, Maggie, she was great. She walked my dad and I around. Obviously, the PT program was a huge draw for me. So here, and if you're looking at those, you probably also know that St. Louis has a good one too. So those were kind of pulling at me. But for me, it was really just I don't know, the care that I got there. Honestly, you just have to trust your gut. It's the feeling and the people that you interact with. But Maggie was great. She took so much time with me. I'm kind of a freak. I love libraries. So we walked into the library and she was like, there's 3 parts. And I was like, could you show us all of them? And like me being a tour guide now, I'm like, oh my gosh, if somebody asked me to show all of them, like why? Like, why do you need to see them all? She walked me through every library, showed me around all this great stuff. The PT department I went and visited, they had a little sign like with my name on it. It was so cute. At the front, they're like, welcome, Siobhan. And they walked me around the whole building. Very much could tell that I was indecisive, didn't know what I was doing. And just were really nice and just like open and like, here's our school. But the thing that really drove home for me, again, like Michaela said, was St. Joan of Arc Chapel. Walked up, had always seen it, it's beautiful, awesome, didn't really know much about it. Walked up there and they're like, oh, this chapel is dedicated to St. Joan of Arc. My name, Siobhan, is the Gaelic translation of the name Joan. I am named after my great aunt Joan, my mom's aunt. She was really dear to her. And the saint, St. Joan of Arc. I'm also grew up Catholic, and that was a big thing for me too, I really liked the feel of a Jesuit school. But at that moment, it was like, okay, that's probably a pretty big sign. I don't know. I took that as a really big sign. It was an overwhelming feeling of just like peace. And I was like, yep, this is it. And after all that, you know, I probably put my deposit down like a day before May 1st. It was crazy. But there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that I'm in the right place. So.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like, especially as you're probably sitting from your living room or wherever you are in your home or wherever, you're probably wondering, well, how do I, you know, it sounds like all of you got to campus and that's when you knew, because, you know, I'm just like all of you. I wanted nothing to do with Marquette. And when I got to Marquette, I didn't want to tell my mom how much I loved it because I got this crazy, weird gut feeling, and I haven't had that one since. But I don't, so I know that, you know, us telling you, if you get to campus, it's great because campus is fantastic. But I do hope that what you've gathered from everybody saying is that you will be joining a community that will comfort you and cheer you on and be there for you every step of the way. And Marquette is more than just a school. It will be your home. It will be your home for the next 4 years. And to know that you're entering a community where everybody cares about you and your success and where you'll go after, because we're really invested in what your after Marquette looks like. So whether you're like Siobhan going to PT school or you're Michaela, who was just hired on as a nurse yesterday, we are really invested in you. So when you step foot on campus freshman year, we will see you through your way, that 4 or however long you're spending at Marquette. So that brings me to, I do say we have quite a few questions. I'm going to answer this one because I think it's pretty pertinent to what we've just talked about. But I'm going to throw this one to Francisco. It's about internships and co-ops in the College of Engineering, which then leads me to talk about internships and just for any non-engineer. So we'll talk about both. But first, Francisco, can you just talk about what types of companies may come to you guys, as well as what that co-op process will look like for any engineering student?
Yeah, so every semester we have about 150 companies that come to a career fair here at Marquette, specifically for engineering students. So those are 150 companies that are looking to hire Marquette engineers, which is great. I currently have a co-op, so I'll be starting in like 3 weeks for my second term of it. And how it works is you literally have a class that prepares you for it. So it's professional development. They teach you how to write your resume. They teach you how to interview properly. We actually get a mock interview with different companies from Milwaukee. So I did mine with Milwaukee Tool, and it's the scariest thing ever. You literally have a time slot that you go up for 15 minutes. I walked up, my resume ready and everything, and it was like an actual interview. I was not expecting that right off the bat. 7 minutes in, he cut it. And he told me what I did well, what I didn't do well, what I needed to fix on my resume. It was really quick and short, but it showed you how stuff gets done. And then you go to a career fair and you find different companies that interest you. One advice wherever you go, research the company you're looking for. That's what they're looking for. See that you're actually interested. And I see that your question pertains to electrical. So. Or computer, I think. Yeah, right, computer. So my roommate is actually a computer engineer. He's had internships at Rexnard, which is a company here in Milwaukee. They deal with a lot of government projects. And this summer, he has an internship with GE Healthcare as a computer engineer. So you have a variety of different companies that are looking for you. And like my company, we get mechanical and computer and electrical engineers as well. So there's a variety of different companies, and you're very well prepared for interviews and such. And kind of advice once you come to college, don't get discouraged if you don't get a couple. I applied for 5, got to the final interview of all of them, and didn't hear back from 4. So I got the one I wanted. It wasn't my first option, but now like I absolutely love my job. In 3D design, I work a lot with CAD and SolidWorks, so it's great. It's very fitting for me and what I want to do with my career.
Good. Thanks, Francisco.
Yeah.
And so that also brings me to, so while we have an incredible internship and co-op program for engineering students, that spans across to every single academic college. So know that, I see that we have a question about career counseling. Know that every college has their own internship coordinator, so they'll help you. It's a partnership, you know, so you bring some of your interest to the table, and then they'll bring their tools to the table to hopefully get you into that job or internship that you're looking forward to. But know that Marquette actually has a very central career center. So with this Career Success Center, you can go in, they'll help you with your resume. So some of our students have never had a resume, so they'll help you construct that. They'll do mock interviews with you. They'll take you shopping to figure out what to wear in a job interview so you look your best. And then they're also there to provide any sort of career counseling while you're here at Marquette, but also after you graduate. And so that brings me to that piece of, we care about you after you've left. My very best friend in the whole world has actually shifted careers. So 4 years out of college, she went back to the Career Center at Marquette, and they took good care of her to help put her in a different career setting that was aligned a little bit better with her values. So that Career Center will be there both as a student and afterwards. And our students are working in the downtown in Milwaukee, but they're also working in the surrounding areas. They're working in the summers back home. So whether you're working in Chicago or you're heading back to New York or Georgia or California, wherever it is, we'll help you get an internship, because Marquette's alumni network spans around the entire country as around the world. So we tap into those alumni networks and make sure that if you're looking for a company that you're really interested in, we'll help you get there. So know that our alumni network is a huge key factor in helping make sure our students are successfully getting placed into the jobs that they're looking for.
Rose,
Yeah.
do you mind if I add a bit to that too?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm a part of my college didn't have an official alumni association to pair you with a mentor. So there's another opportunity where students from any college can be paired with a mentor for an entire year. And so my mentor this year works for Google in their Moonshot factory. So they're working on a lot of really cool technologies that aren't publicly available yet. And so I was able to go out to San Francisco and shadow her for a day, explore the city, and Marquette helped me pay for that too. So I just wanted to add that in. There's tons of opportunities with that.
Oh my gosh, no, that's incredible. I'm mad I didn't even ask you about that. So thank you, James. So that's just one example of a bunch of them that I think is super incredible that you got to go out to San Francisco and shadow for a day. Which brings me to traveling. So, he was able to travel to San Francisco, but our students are traveling on a much greater scale, and that's studying abroad. So I see a few of you have asked about studying abroad. Can any of you just raise your hand if you've studied abroad on this panel? And have any of you gone abroad at some point?
I'm scheduled to go in the fall, so we're in a limbo area, but I can talk a little bit about it if you'd like.
Yeah, do you want to talk about like how you discovered where you wanted to go and the process of getting there?
Perfect. Yeah. So each semester there's a study abroad fair. You'll probably get like an email, or like there's always like signs and stuff. In the fall, it's like outside and really nice. And then in the winter, it's usually in the AMU. But there's tables, there's hub tables for your college, and then there's individual tables for different institutions that Marquette kind of has like paired with, if that makes sense, and has like established relationships with. So I just worked my way over to the health sciences table. There was somebody there who was so nice. I talk to her a lot now because I'm trying to get through class transfers and all that sort of stuff. And she literally pulled out a piece of paper, slapped it down. It had all the institutions that pair well with health sciences. But in my curriculum, I mentioned I'm a part of the Doctorate of Physical Therapy program. There's a lot about it, but essentially it's a 3x3 program. So you finish your undergrad in 3 years, and then you get your doctorate in physical therapy in the last 3 years. So it's a little bit tight schedule-wise, But even in that sort of program, I have opportunities to study abroad, which is so cool. So that was a big pull too. So I went to the table. She outlined different things for me. I did this like my freshman year just to like see what was available to me. And she showed me what institutions and what sort of like tweaks to my schedule I'd have to make. And I set my heart on Dublin, and I just had to move one class, which I'm going to take at home this coming summer. And then the rest is all laid out for me. So hopefully, everything permitting, I'll be there in the fall. Cautiously optimistic about it, but that just goes to show that they're like really helpful in figuring out what you want to do. And then once you're there, you get emails all the time. Application's really easy. Some programs can be more competitive than others, so always have like a couple backups. Apply to maybe 2 or 3 if you're really interested. And then, yeah, so they've just been really communicative. They've communicated really well. And I had one more thing and I'm forgetting it. Oh, it just goes to show that even in some more like straightforward programs with like a lot of packed schedules, you can still have opportunities to go.
No, and that's such a great point to know that every single student can study abroad. So whether you are a nursing student or you are in anthropology or English or biomedical sciences or engineering or whatever it is, you can go abroad. And I am so glad that you're going abroad, Siobhan, because this is, maybe some of you might agree if you're graduating, it's my biggest regret from not studying abroad from studying at Marquette. Not studying abroad was my biggest regret. Because every student has the opportunity to do so if that's something you're interested in. And you can either go to Ireland or you can go to Spain or Australia or South Africa, wherever, whatever we're traveling to man, my words are hard today. Wherever you're looking at traveling to, we will list that on our website of partner institutions, things that have been verified by Marquette. In many cases, your loan and scholarship will transfer over, which is always great. So it's never too early to start thinking about studying abroad. We recommend you don't study abroad. Well, you can't study abroad senior year or freshman year. So the sweet spot is sophomore and junior year. So you can head to marquette.edu/study abroad and take a look at all of those different opportunities of places to visit once a Marquette student. Alrighty, so let's see what else we have. Yeah, okay, sorry, I was just taking a look at all of these. So are any of you double majoring right now? James, I know you're minoring, but is anybody double majoring? Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about actually, Cecilia, do you want to talk a little bit about how double majors work? And then James, if you just want to touch a little, I know you already talked about it a little bit, but talk about your minor and how that works as well.
Absolutely. So because Marquette is direct entry, I think students have a lot of option and they're encouraged to do so to double major. And I think that's because you have that opportunity to really get a head start on some of your major related curriculum, sometimes within your freshman year at Marquette. So I pursued a double major. I switched my major around way too many times. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to make that corporate communication minor a major. But what was so important about that was I was encouraged to explore other options across different academic colleges. So we really do encourage you all to really customize your education at Marquette and study things that you're excited about. And it allows you to really diversify the skill set that you're attaining at Marquette. I was talking to one student and she's majoring in both biology and political science. And she said, at first, you don't think it actually goes together really well, but they're both passions of mine. And I'm, developing this amazing skill set so that when I graduate, I could put all of these to good use. If you are planning on double majoring, it is not a separate application process when you are a student. It's just a form that you have to fill out with your academic college. Each and every one of you are assigned an academic advisor, and that academic advisor is your go-to resource for navigating what classes to take in your academic major. But they also can direct you to, hey, what are some other programs that you might not have known that you had this interest in that you might be a really good fit for? You will have an academic advisor assigned for each of your major related curriculum. So if you are studying biology or corporate communication, you will be assigned a faculty member in those departments because they know all of the curriculum in that particular skill sets. So they can really advise you on what classes to take and what classes you'll be successful in.
Perfect. Thanks, Cecilia. All right, James, you just want to talk a little bit about the minor and how that might work?
Yeah, so kind of going off what Cecilia was saying about being undecided and changing your mind. Everybody likes to joke that I've changed my major 3 times and my minor 4 times. So I hit the college average because I'm pretty sure it's that college students change their major 3 times throughout college. But one of the awesome things that I found is Marquette is there to support you all the way. And you don't have to declare your major until the end of your sophomore year. So you have a lot of time to make a lot of those decisions. Just take different classes that you're interested in, especially if you're what we consider multi-interested. So as for my minor, that decision to minor in the business school, really it was the impact that this one professor had on me that made me decide to take that as my minor, because I didn't really know what supply chain management was. And I'm actually not directly using it in my career next year either. But I just had such a powerful experience with this professor who made the subject so interesting that was the main reason I decided to minor in it. And so I encourage you to, look at how maybe your career will benefit from what you study, but also just like do things that you're passionate about that you can speak positively about, and then just be creative in how you'll then apply them to your job in the future. Because honestly, I think that's what more employers are looking for, is what you really learned and what you gained from the lessons, as opposed to like the content and what exactly you quote unquote studied. So I hope that helps.
That's like super helpful. Do you want to do my job, James? Okay. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And I think James is so incredibly right. Do things because you like them. That is what college is for. You get to come to college to major or minor or double major in something that you're really passionate about. So really take advantage of everything around you. And then going off of that, students are not just involved academically, they're involved extracurricularly. So I know all of you talked a little bit about what you're involved in, but the question here is how many clubs or organizations or sports are students a part of on average? So I can give you a simple statistic. 83% of our students are involved in 2 or more organizations. And those organizations include anything that some of our tour guides and some of our students have talked about. But yeah, I think that pretty much answers the question. The good news is, actually, no, I want to go off of that. Can one of you talk about OFest and what Organization Fest looks like for our incoming students and how they can get involved? I'm gonna have Michaela talk. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna have Michaela talk about it. Thanks.
So the joke in the tour guide office is that we start talking about OFest like the movie Pitch Perfect, the first one. So for all of you that have seen it, work with me here. If you haven't, I'll get to the main point here. So in Pitch Perfect, the very first one, Becca's kind of walking around when she gets to campus, figuring out what she wants to do. It's all of these clubs and organizations kind of laid out. That's exactly what OFest looks like. So in our main quad area, which is like a green space on our academic side of campus, is where pretty much everything that we have on campus in terms of sports, clubs, random shenanigans like that will be laid out. So we have like a service section, Greek life section, sports, whether that's like D1, so they have like a cheer table, basketball club, intramural sports, academic clubs, everything kind of inside and outside of that. So what you kind of do, that happens every single semester. So if you want to join something, let's say for me, second semester, senior year, last minute, I wanted to join something, which technically I did. I joined an intramural team second semester. Like Siobhan was talking about, best decision I've ever made. You could totally do that. There's no limit for you. So first semester, when it's nice out, you'll be outside in the quad area. Second semester in January, you'll be in our AMU, kind of like I talked about earlier, like the fun spot in campus just because of weather. But everything will be set up for you and you are free to walk around. It's like 3 hours long. Grab those pamphlets, put down your information, anything like that. And then the board or the main people of those clubs will stay in contact with you. There's a lot of flexibility. That's a main thing I talk about too, flexibility being in and out of those clubs. So let's say, for example, you're in a club sport and one semester is just going to be super, super hard for you academically. You're totally fine. If you kind of want to do like a lighter schedule with practices, or if you just want to take that semester off, that is open to you. Service, kind of like we all talked about, is a main thing that we do at Marquette just because that's like a big part of the Jesuit tradition. You can kind of join that whenever you want to. There's a ton of different things to do wherever you are in Milwaukee outside of that. So OFest is awesome. I'll forever advocate for that. That's how I got involved with everything at Marquette. So definitely check that out when you come.
Thanks, Michaela. And then one last question just involving extracurricular organizations. James, this one specifically for you. Real quick, can you just talk about the running club, and were there any opportunities to compete? And what does that look like if there is?
That's funny. I was like just typing my response to that. I didn't know if you were going to
Okay.
address it. Yeah, I didn't actually send it though. Yeah, so to answer your question, Josh, so kind of like Michaela was just talking about, you've got a couple different options for most different types of sports. For running on campus, there's D1 and there's club. I was very undecided at first, but I decided I liked the flexibility more of the club. So I found out about them through OFest, then went to their info panel. Basically, there will be practices throughout the week at a set time and at set locations. You can choose when you want to attend. Same with competitions. They'll be throughout the year. You can pay a pretty small fee to participate, get a jersey, and it's totally up to you how many you want to go to.
Perfect. Thanks, James. Okay, and this is a fun question. So Marquette, all of us have probably experienced some of these, but does anybody really feel passionate about talking about any of the Marquette traditions that you've experienced in your time at Marquette? Just like a hand raise. Okay. Oh, James, you want to talk about, okay, why don't you talk about some of the traditions at Marquette?
Yeah, so you just mean like basketball games and Joan of Arc and
like hot cookie night, like all of the things that are pretty specific to Marquette, things that I mean, obviously it's our job only to know about Marquette, but things that have been really just specific to your time here on campus.
All right, well, I'm going to let someone else dive into maybe basketball, and I'll dive into the hot cookie nights because that was probably my favorite Marquette tradition. So Cobean is one of the residence halls that also has a dining hall, and they offer hot cookie night, which is basically an opportunity to go and get some of the most delicious cookies you can imagine. I can't remember exactly what time, but it's always at like a very convenient time where you can make it work, and you just have to be diligent about making it there every week because it's so worth it. Great way to also meet new people. I always love like going to residence halls, dining halls, meeting new people too. So hot cookie night was a good social event as well.
I'm also a really large fan of hot cookie night, so that's just one of the traditions. There are many. Michaela, do you want to talk about Marquette basketball for us?
Yeah. So Marquette basketball is obviously huge. Not having a football team, when I came in, I was like, okay. But coming in, Marquette basketball is amazing. So that is kind of your go-to main sport to cheer for. Obviously, we have to wait a few months for that to happen, but it's totally worth it. So our men's basketball team plays at the Pfizer Forum. You'll pay to get like the season pass, so you'll get all the home tickets with that. You do not have to go to every game if you cannot make it. Don't feel obliged. The cool thing that we have is Marquette Ticket Exchange. So it's kind of like a Facebook page you can get on. Let's say I bought season tickets and there's a Wednesday night game and I can't go because I have an exam Thursday, but I know Siobhan wants to go. So I'll message in there, I'll just text her myself and just say, hey, I'm selling my ticket, like, do you want it? For some people, for friends, you can give it to them for free and they'll transfer over. For some people, you can get some money off of that, whatever you want to do. But that's a really awesome thing to do. So for example, my freshman, sophomore year, I bought tickets. Junior, senior year, I was like, I don't know if I can go that often, but I just use that ticket exchange to get those tickets. Awesome, awesome, awesome environment. If you are ready to show your school pride, whether that's on a Monday night or a Saturday morning, whatever it might be, that is going to be your go-to place. You can dress up, you can get ready. If you want to sit on the court, you can sit on the court. It's just an awesome environment to be a part of.
And I will say, I don't know if any of you out there might feel this way like I did about basketball. Is I was never good at sports, so therefore I didn't understand how sports worked, and basketball was right there. I didn't understand what was happening. But I remember going to my very first game, and I was dragged there against my own will. I remember looking around and thinking, oh my gosh, this is so incredible that everybody here is supporting Marquette and the team, and whether we're winning or losing, we're still cheering so much that we might not have a voice the next day. And it is so cool to come together to support this one common thing, and that's what Marquette basketball is. So know that even if you're like me, who maybe didn't understand who scored a touchdown or a basket or whatever it's called. Marquette basketball is a huge part of the student experience, and we're so lucky to get to play in the Fiserv Forum, which is so close to campus. So that will be something there. But no, if you're not interested in participating, it's not a detriment either. But it's definitely there if you're interested in trying it out. I always say try one game and then come tell me if you don't like it, and I promise I won't give you a hard time. But it is something that's really fun, and a really just showcases a Marquette spirit. So going off of that, I think a lot of people, you'll ask, what has been your favorite memory at Marquette? And it might include something to do with hot cookies. It might include something to do with basketball. But Siobhan, actually, I'm gonna throw this one back to Michaela and then to Siobhan, because I know, and then James, and then I guess Francisco too. Can all of you talk about what I think this is a really important one, because especially as you're graduating, it's like, what has been your favorite memory at Marquette? So Michaela, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, put me on the spot. Okay, so 4 years at this school, I'm gonna be honest, I cannot pinpoint one exact moment. So I'm gonna give you like 3, okay? So first one I'm gonna go with is, I know it's probably annoying at this point that we keep talking about it, but it's this intramural soccer team. So I actually, a little backstory on me, I have been involved in this office, like undergraduate admissions office, for all 4 years. So I started off as a shadow host, which is like, if you were looking at Marquette as a high schooler, like you could come and shadow me. And then I worked front desk. So for all of you that came to Marquette, those people that kind of like wear the polos, check you in. And then I finally moved to being a tour guide. So this senior year is when I was a tour guide, another great decision I made. And one of the other tour guides and I kind of were like throwing around ideas of this, soccer intramural team. And I was like, why don't we like follow through on it? Like we could totally do it. Like great way to end the year, and my year too. So we made a little team. Our roster was like 35 people. But best thing ever, we all showed up. Games were at like 8:15 or 9. Not all games are that late. I would like to make that known too. If you're like a 6 p.m. person, there's games for that too. It was awesome. We had like a handful of people that went super, super hard. I am one of them, like dripping in sweat. And then you have those people on the sideline just kind of like cheering, getting in and out. So that was awesome in terms of like showing your involvement and seeing how everybody kind of comes together and having fun, like taking a break from academics. Other things is the Fuji show we have on campus. So the Fuji Club is like our improv team. So that is super fun. They do like one show every month. It's like on a Friday night. Go to them. If you need a laugh and you need if you hate doing ab workouts, go there, have a laugh, wake up the next morning with your abs hurting. I guarantee that. They are so, so funny. If you guys are super funny, I am not. But if you are funny, like on the spot, join that. You can be a freshman and join that. Super, super cool. And then kind of everything else, Tuesday night mass is kind of like Siobhan and I talked about, Joan of Arc. They have mass at like noon and at 10 p.m. on weekdays, but the Tuesday night mass at 10 p.m. is like a tradition for Marquette. So if you are kind of interested, whether you're Catholic, not Catholic, don't really know how anything works, but you hear about this, go ahead and check that out. You're going to feel really calm. It's a nice study break. It's a nice way to end your day, whatever that might be for you. So those were kind of some like hot spots for me.
Perfect. Thanks, Michaela. All right, how about Siobhan? Do you have a favorite memory that you'd like to share?
Okay, this is like really, really hard.
It's okay if you don't have one.
I just now like being at home and not being at school, I feel like I am appreciating like the little things of every day, if that makes sense. So like I'll just like lay out like a perfect day. How about that? So here, it's kind of a memory. Specific memory was last spring. Okay, my freshman year winter was like one of the toughest winters Milwaukee's had in a little while. But I remember this specific day that it was like warm for the first time. And warm in our eyes at that point was like 45 degrees. Everybody's in t-shirts, shorts. There's people like laying out on the grass. Like there's people like throwing the Frisbee, like literally a movie college campus. Like people are playing spike ball, all this like fun stuff. That was such a good day. I saw so many of my friends just out and about like between classes because everybody wanted to be outside all day long. My friends and I, my roommate had a car on campus. We drove to Portillo's. We never spend money, but we decided to go get Portillo's for like, I think it was at like 2 p.m. And then my friends drove me back to Marquette Hall, which is like right on Wisconsin Avenue. So they drove down Wisconsin Avenue. They were all done for the day. I had another class. So they drop me off. I get out like a little kid, like for kindergarten, for school, and they're all waving out the window, like, have a good like day at class. And I had to go to class, but it's fine. But it was a perfect day. So I just think like campus atmosphere, sunshine, seeing friends and like just even just like acquaintances. Like one of my favorite things is like if you like change up your route to class one day for some odd reason, like maybe like I met with my counselor or something, so I was like 10 minutes later leaving the building than when I would have, and I see like a whole like new round of fresh faces of people that just like, it just makes my day. I'm like, oh my gosh, hey, oh my gosh, hey. Like it's, I don't know, just the atmosphere of campus on a warm day is definitely what I'm missing most right now.
Well, thank you, Siobhan. Actually, I agree with you. That does sound like the perfect day because I know exactly what you're talking about. But I do not want to cut off James or Francisco, but I recognize that we only have about 5 more minutes, and I want to be respectful of all of your time and to see that we still have quite a few questions to go through. We probably won't be able to get to all of these questions. Please know that we will follow up with you via email. I will work with some of our students to make sure that you're getting a student perspective on that question. So know that we will, of course, still make sure that that question is getting answered, even if we can't verbally answer it right now. So my apologies. I just want to be pretty respectful of your time. The last question that I think we're going to have time for is, I think this is probably pretty pertinent to what you're all going through right now, is do you recommend picking roommates or going random? When you go random, what does this process look like? So if any of you went random, can you raise your hand? Okay, Francisco, can you just talk about what that process looks like really quickly? And then if you picked a roommate, I'll have one of you talk about that process as well.
Yeah, so my freshman year incoming, I did not want to room with one of my friends. I just thought I wanted to expand my horizons, so that's what I did. Because I came from Marquette High School, which is literally down the street, and there was like 40 guys coming here from my high school. So I was like, oh, I know a few amount of people already, so might as well expand a little bit more. And what I did is just chose what residence halls were my preferences. And then from there, it was just random. I got an email, like I think in June, saying who my roommates were, included their email. And like I emailed them right away, like kind of introducing myself and stuff like that. Then we got each other's numbers and we planned on what we were bringing to our residence hall. It was great. I'm still really good friends with them. The funniest thing was that we were all from Wisconsin, all from rival high schools. The worst thing was Sunday nights. 2 of us were Packers fans, one was a Bears fan, and the other one was a Vikings fan. So Sunday nights got a little intense. We actually made a bet between the 2 Packers fans and the Bears fans. Like whoever lost last season, my sophomore year, would have to jump into Lake Michigan. Mind you, this is December, and the Packers lost that year. So me and my roommate were both Packers fans. We had to jump into Lake Michigan in December. But it's just kind of like the memories you make with your roommates. And I'm so glad I had that experience with them when I went random.
Thank you, Francisco. I just want to make a quick disclaimer. We really care about your health on campus. So the Lake Michigan is very, very, very cold. We don't recommend it, but I will say we do have a medical clinic on campus, which is just something comforting to know that you have access to the medical clinic as a student if anything were to go wrong while on campus, but then also know that we have quite a few hospitals, both around campus, one as well as right behind campus. So just a disclaimer there, you will always be covered, and know that even if you're far away from home, you'll be taken care of in that aspect. So thanks for prompting me, Francisco. But I am glad because I will say random roommate, I personally went random and it worked out really well. My random roommate is now my very best friend. We call each other every day, and she's my bridesmaid, I'll be hers. So it does, I think it personally works out very well. But also, so does picking your own roommate. I know that it is stressful to think about, oh my gosh, I'm already making all these new changes. The last thing you want is to already have something where you're not familiar with the person you'll be living with. So for some will go ahead and pick their roommates. Did any of you guys pick your roommate going in? Siobhan, do you just want to talk about that process?
Sure. So actually, I kind of lucked out. I picked one roommate on Facebook, and then the other roommate was random, and they were both great. So, but on picking your roommate, you should all be in the admitted students like Facebook page on Facebook, So I just sort of, like I said, I was kind of late in the game committing. So it was kind of like there were only like a few of us left. It's kind of funny because like I know a lot of those girls now, and it's like we talked and like kind of met each other. But basically just posted a post about me, about what I like to do, like just like basic habits, I guess, and then some pictures of myself. And then I would like either message other girls or other girls would message me, and then maybe we'd look each other up on Instagram because I'm not really a Facebook person, at least personally. And then it kind of got down to it, and I'm not sure exactly how, but this girl and I connected really well. Her name's Erica. She's my roommate. She's still my best friend. She's my roommate this year too. Just like totally awesome. But yeah, the Facebook page is probably the best way to go about picking if you're going to choose, but you don't have somebody that you already know.
No, perfect. And I will address, I know that none of you are on Facebook. I'm very aware. I am told often that Facebook is really not used, but it is a really great way. We have about 1,600 admitted students in that group right now. And like Siobhan just referenced to, you can go ahead and find a roommate there if that's something you're looking for. Or of course, if you know somebody already who's coming to Marquette. So while it's definitely up to each person, I don't think I would recommend a preference, but I think it's up to you and what you're looking for. So you can do either. But that kind of wraps up. We're right at 4 o'clock. So I just really want to thank our panelists for being with us today. And thank you for answering everybody's questions. And again, if we didn't get to your question, we will of course make sure that it is answered via email in just a bit. So thanks again. And we wish you all the very best, and know that you can just stay connected with us, whether it be on Facebook or Instagram or through email or phone, whatever works best for you. So with that, I will just kind of end it now. So bye, everybody. Thanks so much. Now I just have to figure out how to end it.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe. Thanks so much.